What I see here, I'm seeing you guys would be okay with apartheid as it was, but I'm seeing the new government of national unity, you got a real issue with it. You can't work with it, but you can work with apartheid. I'm asking myself, listening to this conversation, what are you telling your children?
I've got 3 grandchildren. The youngest was born a month ago. He's a white Afrikaner young boy. He will pay a price for the rest of his life because of the past. I don't think that's a good idea. Apartheid ended more than 30 years ago. He's going to pay a price for the rest of his life, being born a month ago. If we are serious that we want to create a South Africa that the ANC says belongs to all who live in it, black and white, then my grandson should also have a say in his own future one day. In terms of the policies of the current government, he will have no say.
I hear you're stuck in the past and you want to go back to the past. And I'm not hearing you talk about a new vision.
We want to create a South Africa that is a winning nation, a winning country for all South Africans, including the Afrikaner and other minorities. The people that are paying the biggest price at the moment are the vast amount of black South Africans who are unemployed. Why are they unemployed after 30 years? I've given...
Guys, so I'm now in Berlin, another really beautiful city. I've also been taking some walks around and trying to really understand how, the city works, and really beautiful place, organized, intelligent designs I see all over the city. Brilliant. But on the way, as I'm doing my research, I stumbled on this video by Colonel Mulder, responding to a really hostile, it's not like hostile in the sense of a negative, but it's a really factual question by this African American, I would argue, in this Afrikaner meeting at the Hudson Institute, as I've been, making videos on this channel. And the way Colonel Mulder really responds to this question, I think it hits at the core of what it is that I'm trying to achieve on this channel. All right. It was a really emotional response, and also a really emotional question coming from this African American, and it actually hits at the core of the whole heartbeat of South Africa. It is this really difficult divide that South Africa's history lies, where we are trying to reconcile a bitter past with what should be a promising future. How to really reconcile these two ends of this, what would maybe temporalities, is a really big challenge. And I think this altercation, not an altercation, but it's a call and response session between this African American and Colonel Mulder. For me, it really, captures the entire thing. So we know that the African Americans, many times in my own in my own thinking, I usually see the African Americans also, or see them within the same frame as I see the Afrikaners. Only that the Afrikaners and they both arrived at where they are today in different circumstances. So the African Americans arrived the US in a very unfortunate circumstances, in slavery during the 1650 to 1850 thereabout, during this period where many black people were actually shipped from the shores of Africa. I've been doing research now of the slaves that were shipped from the Bight of Biafra, but we had also many from the Sierra Leone part and Ghana. So many of these blacks were actually shipped to the United States. And then after slavery, they began to really begin a new way of life, started developing a new way of seeing the world, the African-American consciousness. And to be honest, the African Americans have done a lot of good work for Africa, because these guys have actually documented the history of pre-colonial African societies. They've critiqued all kinds of colonialism, slavery, neoliberalism, imperialism. They've done a lot of work. Bro, those guys are so intense. So I think they've done a really lot of work for the continent. And so their research and the way they have been able to start seeing the world has really created a really deep level of distrust for white, maybe people who will be considered white, but anyway, anything that reeks of imperialism. All right. And one of the things I think that actually reeks of this would be anybody who who maybe passes off as a white person would kind of like be attached to that kind of past that blacks have actually had to go through. And so this man sitting in the room with this Afrikaner delegation from South Africa coming to try to really explain to the world what the kind of policies that South Africa is actually going through, the whole thing with broad-based black economic empowerment, the whole thing with employment equity, the whole thing with the farming situation with Theo de Jager, Gerhard Papenfoss, and Coroner Mulder, really trying to really explain these things to the audience. The guy really wasn't having it. And so, and I really enjoy his question because his question is a really tactical, theoretical question. And the way Coroner Mulder also responds to that question, you see that Coroner Mulder is a born politician and a thinker. So he argues, he's asking, about the whole thing with apartheid. Why is it that, it appears that Coroner Mulder wants the people of South Africa to really just let go of this difficult past and try to really imagine a bright future and, maybe playing down on this whole notion that there's a past that would always seep into the future. And I think this is really true because that's the challenge the Afrikaner in South Africa, I think, would always struggle with. It will be a struggle on how to prove or how to constantly prove to the black people that they are not aligned to a Western imperialist notion or worldview, so to speak, with their presence in Africa. I think this is what makes the Afrikaner life in South Africa a really, really difficult, challenging task. All right, because first of all, they pass with a white skin and they're white. They're easily sort of like attached, so to speak, to a past that maybe most of them might be trying to exclude from, but their skin keeps giving them away. So I think this is the struggle of the Afrikaner. And Coroner Mulder actually captures, and I really like the way he responds. He responds from the perspective of his grandson. And this is one of the things I told you guys on this channel, that I saw two really touching comments. One of them, the lady was trying to tell me, asking for a really honest advice. And what should she do? Should she leave this country? She doesn't know which other country feels like home. She only knows South Africa as home. I think she's white, but now with the way things are going in her country, she doesn't even know where she is. Should she leave or not? That was really touching for me on this channel on YouTube. The second comment was regarding she was trying to really understand her country. And she said Kwazemi is a place she comes to really understand a little bit more about her. So in other words, she has been living in South Africa and has not been able to understand South Africa physically in South Africa. She had to come to YouTube to understand her own country. And you see, so this is the kind of like the divide, the likes of the grandchildren of a Coroner Mulder, for example, or maybe a Gerhard Papenfoss, or would really struggle because it's sort of like a delinking that, it speaks of a belonging, a sense of belonging. Where do I belong? I'm not accepted from where I was born or where I live. I don't even know if where it is that my descendants come from, I'm really accepted there. So they're lost. It's almost like being in a limbo. And so this is the challenge, I think, for the African. And Coroner Mulder really responds to this question really gracefully, arguing that, they are really wishing to look to the future and hope, to kind of like let this pain of the past behind. That they're trying to really see if they can find a way to get beyond these policies and maybe look for a brighter future. I don't want to spill all the beans. I want you guys to watch it, but it was a really interesting moment, between this African American and Coroner Mulder, really tackling this difficult divide between South Africa's past and South Africa's future. And it really pulls in the African American experience, because the African Americans are also on another struggle, on another level entirely in the US, where, what they're going through is something else. But I think this discussion is something that every South African needs to understand. Blacks, whites, Indians, and coloreds. I've worked with many South African whites and blacks and coloreds, and I know that these guys are really intelligent minds. But how to come together now to build a future that promises everyone, an excellent future, I think that's really the challenge. And that's the question Coroner Mulder is tackling in this video. So let's listen to Coroner Mulder and share your thoughts. Let's have a robust discussion in the comments.
I do want to give people opportunities. So we're in overtime here. I don't know what the cricket equivalent of that would be, extra crickets or something. But so Mel, you had your hand. Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. I always enjoy coming to your meetings. I learn something every day. Let me say that, first of all, welcome. I first visited South Africa in 1994, right after the end of apartheid. My name is Melvin Foote. I'm the head of the constituency for Africa. I lobby on U.S. Africa policy. We talk about AGOA, for instance. I'm one of the ones who was the architect of the original AGOA. And I could say that what I see here, I'm seeing you guys would be okay with apartheid as it was, but I'm seeing the new government of national unity, you got a real issue with it. You can't work with it, but you can work with apartheid. I'm asking myself, listening to this conversation, what are you telling your children? What are you telling with the young people? Can they envision a new South Africa other than what you had or what you don't like? A South Africa where all South Africans, black, white, Indian, whatever, can get along and go forward. I don't hear it from this panel. I hear you're stuck in the past and you want to go back to the past. And I'm not hearing you talk about a new vision for South Africa.
Could I try again?
Yeah, sure. Mel and I are friends. We can yell at each other in the hallway.
No, that's fine. I've got 3 grandchildren. The youngest was born a month ago. He's a white Afrikaner young boy. He will pay a price for the rest of his life because of the past. I don't think that's a good idea. Apartheid ended more than 30 years ago. He's going to pay a price for the rest of his life, being born a month ago. If we are serious that we want to create a South Africa that the ANC says belongs to all who live in it, black and white, then my grandson should also have a say in his own future one day. In terms of the policies of the current government, he will have no say. We are saying exactly the opposite of what you've heard, with all due respect. We want to create a South Africa that is a winning nation, a winning country for all South Africans, including the Afrikaner and other minorities. The people that are paying the biggest price at the moment are the vast amount of black South Africans who are unemployed. Why are they unemployed after 30 years? I've given you the figures. More than R1 trillion, $55 billion, have been circulated, according to Professor Gumede, between less than 100 people. And they call it black economic empowerment. That's not the case, not at all. We are absolutely committed to work towards the future. I'm not a European. I'm an African. I'm a white African. My family came to Africa in 1685. That's where I'm going to stay. That is the commitment we've got to our continent and to our country. We want to make a change. We want to make things better for everyone in South Africa. And that is the cry from all the South Africans. But we've got a small, tiny elite that are preventing that from happening. That is our challenge. I'm not interested in the past. If it was up to me, I would have not said one word about what happened in the past. I'm looking towards the future. That's what we want. And I want to create a future for my grandchild, but also for black South Africans and their young children. And the young generation is prepared to go forward. But the problem is we are being hamstrung by outdated ideological policies, by a political party that are stuck in the past, addressing each other as comrades. That's the problem.
So, you know, in 1994, 70% whites governed South Africa. We had to vote in 1992. Was it 1992?
Referendum, yes.
We voted, 70% of whites voted for the change, for a non-racial constitution, to share in everything. Now, this is not what happened. We didn't vote for this. There was no point in stopping the repression of the past if we find ourselves in this situation. We cannot remain quiet in the situation where 70% of South Africans need to get government grants, where a small portion of people pay all the taxes, but they deny the right to be really South Africans. We cannot say this is okay. Of course it's not. We want everybody to prosper. If South Africa is to survive, Everybody needs to become more prosperous. And you do not become more prosperous where the state have to pay people grants. And our money, the source of money is running dry. So we don't want to engage in a system of repression people or clinging back to the past. If we wanted the past to remain, we would not have voted in 1992 for a system where everybody, to open it up, to become a non-racial society, which the Constitution provides for. But this is not what's happening. The Constitutional Court in South Africa has become a court that makes race laws. Not the Constitution. The Constitution says everybody has got the similar rights. So we cannot sit here and say this is okay, because if the moment we stop complaining about it, South Africa will go for the dogs. We cannot allow that. It is our job. Society will have to continue complaining. And we not desire the past to come back. We want a prosperous future for everybody. Dr. Mulder said the unemployment rate is 32%. It is not. The unofficial rate is the more accurate figure is 45%. Almost half of South Africans, people that can work, is without work. 62% of young people, the youth, is unemployed. That's not sustainable. So we need to criticize policies. That is the root cause of this thing. We don't want to go back. We want to go forward. The government that's currently running the show wants to punish us for what's happening in the past. And in the process, in their attempt to punish us, they're destroying this nation. We cannot sit back and say you're governing this country good. You're making a mess out of this. This government is destroying South Africa. We want to make it work. And we want to work with everybody to make it work.